Finally, curtains for the 70-year-old long Ayodhya dispute. The Supreme Court has finally ruled today, and the entire disputed land, of course, has gone to the Hindus for the Ram Mandir. The Muslims have been given 5 acres of alternate land so that they can, the dispossession that has come about because of the mosque being raised there, which the Supreme Court came down very heavily on, so they get alternate land in that place to build a mosque as per their pleasure. This is the Sunni Waqf Board, and the entire land has gone to the Hindus to build the temple. Center is going to form a trust to build the Ram temple. That's the verdict coming out from the Supreme Court. Of course, I'm joined by my colleagues here in the newsroom. Utpal, what's next? This entire judgment has come. The 70-year-long dispute has now come to a grinding halt. How does this fundamentally alter the political landscape going forward?
So, Aditi, this is absolutely one of those landmark judgments which will have a bearing not only on the politics or the social cultural fabric, but also what it does, it is finally kind of a closure on this festering dispute which has been on for a long time. Now, what has the Supreme Court said? This is a very straight order. The Supreme Court has said that a trust will be formed which will pave the way for the construction of the temple. So first, this entire thing has to be operationalized within around 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
And we are still waiting for the details of the order to come. I've been told it's fairly comprehensive and around 1,000-page odd judgment. Also, what it also does is that now, how do you make sure, and this is absolutely on the part of the government, how do you make sure that there is, and law and order obviously being a state subject, what it means for states such as politically sensitive and communally sensitive states such as a UP or a Bihar, or also given that we have seen there is this Maharashtra gambit which is out there open, what it means for that as well. Also, given that if you look at the manifesto of the Bharatiya Janata Party, one also needs to understand where has this come from. There has been a 70-year-long standing dispute. In fact, also interestingly, this was a judgment which has been unanimous. So if you look at the justices, so for example, there was the Chief Ranjan Gogoi, yeah. Mr. Bobde, Mr. Chandrachud, Ashok Bhushan, and S. Abdul
They're all legal luminaries in their own rights.
In their own rights, and all of them, there's no dissent. So everyone will have to accept this judgment. So it doesn't also open up room for a review.
Right.
So even that space has not been left. And as everyone had said earlier, all the litigants and the parties involved in this, that whatever will be the Supreme Court judgment, they would be accepting it.
Right. But the Sunni Waqf Board has, they've already said that they're not happy with the judgment, but they accept it.
So ultimately, this is a judgment given by the apex court of the country. And
because it's a unanimous judgment, so now there's no room for review either. Right. What's your opinion? I mean, how does this going forward? How does this impact the political landscape? Because it seems that the BJP is just ticking the boxes. There was 370 box ticked.
Absolutely.
Now, the Ram Mandir box ticked, and going forward, it's going to be other things on their manifesto. What are those other issues?
See, as you rightly mentioned, Article 370, Uniform Civil Code, or Ayodhya Ram Temple. These all have been, the highlights of the political agenda of the ruling party at the center. And Utpal rightly pointed out, the fact that the Supreme Court has now brought closure to this particular, dispute. And we are yet to see the full judgment, but there are different aspects to a dispute like this. When you look at a land dispute as a civil matter, there are issues of land ownership per se, but other than land ownership per se, there may be other rights attached to users. For example, the rights of tenants. That also comes in that category where a person has been using a particular land for a particular, whether to offer prayers or not. So those are the finer issues that, how the Supreme Court has, gone and analyzed each of these issues and come up with its order. We are yet to see the fine print, so we can comment on that a little later. But as you rightly said, these are, important milestones for the political agenda of BJP, which will certainly buttress its its ability to deliver what it promises. And the other point is that the Prime Minister and also the security agencies have been, emphasizing on the need for, maintaining law and order, which is a very important thing, at this juncture.
Right. So, because I'm speaking to, of course, the live mint audience here, the economy is again,
Absolutely.
is one thing that, BJP is ticking all the boxes in its manifesto, but on the economy front, we're still floundering. Someday, somebody is going to wake up and say, hey, hello, what about the economy?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, law and order is very essential pillar of any society, and it's very crucial for development. It's important for investors who make crucial decisions when they analyze risks involved in a particular, economy. Law and order assumes, it comes top on their priority. So that's why probably, all security agencies have been, appealing for peace and for people to, maintain restraint. And at this moment, right-wing parties or even the ruling party does not need, to, resort to any show of strength, even if, the order favors one particular community or another, because, only a party in the opposition would feel the need to politicize a particular, dispute and try to make gains out of it. I don't think even right-wing parties would feel the need, to show, to make a show of strength at this juncture after the Supreme Court judgment.
For now, it seems that most parties, most litigants involved in this particular thing. So Nirmohi Akhada's claim has completely been thrown out, and we all know that the entire disputed land has been given to the Hindu party, the Ramlala, specifically so that the temple can be built there. But what were the key points in the judgment that led, what was the rationale that the court gave for giving the entire land to the Hindus? If you can elaborate a little on that.
In fact, if anyone who has followed the case, and of course this has been one of those landmark cases which I'm sure will be cited time and again in across the courts in this country. So one part of this judgment that I'm very sure that would come up would be the importance which was accorded to this case.
Absolutely.
The Supreme Court decided in its wisdom that some things need to be put to a rest. While this issue has been festering for long, and I'm sure we all are aware, there were these marathon sessions which were run. Court was listening to the merits of the case even on weekends.
Right.
So there, and for example, even today, while there will be all kind of views and counter views why Saturday was chosen for the in fact because this order was reserved.
Right.
So why a Saturday was chosen for it to be delivered, perhaps, and also given that the Chief Justice had meetings with the security apparatus of UP on a Friday. Now coming back to what is the merits or the merits on the basis of which the judgment was recorded, a lot of clarity can only emerge once we get to read the final judgment. However, one of the things which has emerged out of this is the court has absolutely gone by the evidences which were presented in the court, and I think a distinction has been made between what appears to me perhaps at this point of time as what my faith wants me to do, or what is the evidence which has been presented there as well.
Right.
So that distinction to my mind has been,
and also the Archaeological Survey of India's findings, they have been accepted that ASI is a credible institution, and the Supreme Court did say that ASI's findings took a major played a major role in arriving at this conclusion.
So absolutely, so the decision has been evidence based.
Right.
Also what it does is we have briefly discussed this earlier, across the political spectrum, while people or the politicians might not be happy with the verdict, you have to accept it. So what it also does is, while in fact we were having a conversation with some of the senior politicians in the country, and also given that our reporter is there at Ayodhya, Shashwati Das is there on the reporting from the ground, while there is a sense of forbidding, it seems that more or less things at this point of time appear to be in control. People were the agencies have been beefed up, In fact, there has been forces have been moved to those 31 sensitive districts, and there is a sense that maybe, and I might be completely wrong on this, full disclosure, but it is about time that the country should turn that page.
It seems everybody has suddenly become very cautious and they want to turn this page. The will to turn the page is there.
And look at issues which have far more greater impact for us to say become a 5 trillion economy by 2024-25. Also, as Girish rightly pointed out, we are not in a very nice spot right now. So while there might be all kind of other issues, social, political as well, economic issues at the end of the day do really matter, and that's the reason why maybe the verdict which was out there in a Maharashtra or Haryana wasn't the kind of a sweep that a BJP, which had championed on the 370 cause, wasn't able to bring that verdict home. So yes, it absolutely marks one of the stages in a country's history, but also perhaps it will also test the maturity of the people of this country. Where do we want to go next?
Right, you brought up Maharashtra in the conversation, and now the obvious question is, of course, the back and forth that's been happening between the BJP and the Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, and the government formation deadline is actually tonight, 12 a.m. Otherwise, there's going to be probably a president's rule imposed in the state of Maharashtra. So the elections and the entire expenditure that went into it is really going to come to a naught. But that's besides the point. But how do you think this particular Ayodhya verdict is going to impact the relations or the formation of government or not in Maharashtra?
A very interesting question, Aditi. We have all seen the posturings which were thought to be posturings on the part of Shiv Sena absolutely resulted, and to my mind it was a policy of brinkmanship which actually didn't yield the desired results of Shiv Sena.
Right.
Now, given the statements made by Mr. Pawar, obviously an NCP will only look at a fresh entrant to the club once Shiv Sena formally severs its ties with a BJP. It's more easy than done, given that this entire election on the part of Shiv Sena was fought on the view that BJP
We are partners with the BJP.
And this is a right-wing party. So
Correct.
there is now that leaves Sena with a very limited option. Maybe given that this also fundamentally alters because BJP being the larger partner here, what is the dispute here between Sena and BJP? In fact, if you look at the Sena spokesperson comments, they have been mentioning in statements after statement that how they want to have the chief minister's position. Now, but politics is also the art of impossible.
Right.
So maybe oppose the judgment, there will be some kind of understanding that comes on between, and mind you, these are two large parties, they have been together for a long time, and in partnerships there are some creases which tend to get ironed out later. But as we all know, given that the chief minister had put out his, he has resigned from his position, there is still a long way to go till 12 o'clock. So I'm very sure that given that this judgment also has a large bearing on the political landscape of the country as well, perhaps BJP and Shiv Sena would come together and there might be a solution on the anvil.
Going by, we all watched Uddhav Thackeray's press conference last evening. He seemed to be not very happy with Devendra Fadnavis and even Amit Shah to some extent. So I doubt that the Ayodhya verdict will bring about a change in heart. Otherwise, because he openly accused them of saying, you can't call me a liar, because that's exactly what Fadnavis did half an hour before Uddhav Thackeray took to the podium to say that, hello, what's happening?
Interesting point there. In fact, what he did after that was, he said that the centre cannot claim credit for the Ayodhya verdict.
Correct.
So to my mind, what it also does is that the reason why you're making statements like these, perhaps there is a sense of forbidding somewhere that the BJP would carry the credit of the verdict, which is not the case. This is a verdict which has been given by the Supreme Court.
Right.
This is a verdict which has been given by the highest court in this country. And as I said earlier, what options does a Sena have now? But maybe a governor's rule, but I don't think so that would be something that would be desirable by any of the political parties involved there. But yes, the communication or the kind of civility which is has been seen in politics, it looks like and this is something which always a BJP or a Shiv Sena had prided itself on, that whatever might be the breakdown in communication, the basic understanding was there. But as every day is a new day, maybe as the day progresses, we'll come to know more about where that alliance is or
where that alliance is headed.
Yeah.
Right. And also in terms of as the day progresses, we'll also know what are the key implications of the Ayodhya verdict as far as the law and order situation within Ayodhya, within the temple town. What shape it takes. For now, everything seems to be completely in control. The last I heard that reports coming in, somebody chanted Jai Shri Ram immediately after the verdict there, and there was an immediate clampdown there. So the authorities are keeping a very, very tight view on what's happening there, keeping the law and order situation under control, no celebrations allowed, no protests allowed, and so far it appears to be going very well. And it does seem, in fact, that everybody really wants to turn a page as far as this 70-year-old dispute is concerned. We'll keep coming back to you with more. Keep watching Live Mint.